This is a power play, plain and simple. The president wants people to obey. He wants people to use the words he chooses. He wants people to fall in line, and if they don't, they lose their access. They're not allowed to be in the company of the president. Notably, in the last 2 days, when the AP reporters have been blocked, in one case, I'm told physically blocked from entering the Oval Office, the photographer was still allowed in, the AP photographer, right? Because the president still wants his photo taken.
Pictures, just
he wants
not
the
the
pictures,
words.
but not the words. This is a First Amendment violation, and I expect in the next few days the AP will file suit. And they have a very strong case in court. This is yet another example where the courts will be the recourse for presidential action.
Right, and what are the other media outlets doing?
Right now,
Yeah.
they're still showing up, they're still asking questions, but that's right, the Correspondents Association has condemned this and called it unacceptable. I think you're suggesting maybe reporters should, what, skip the briefing?
Should band together, because, I
Skip
mean,
the,
listen,
Q&As?
if the bully manages to bully one, he's not going to stop at one.
I don't think this is as emotional as you're making it out to be. You know, take away the hysteria for a moment. First off, Trump doesn't need
Who's
AP
being
to
hysterical?
Take, both of you. Trump doesn't need, first of all, AP
You
to
obviously
take his
don't know what a
photographs.
hysterical Ana Navarro is
I
like.
just believe it comes down to compliance.
That's true,
Trump
actually.
put out an executive order. There was an executive order. He changed the name legally to Gulf of America. They're United States-based. I know they're international as well, but right now they're covering U.S. politics. So if he makes an executive order, they should respect that. And if they don't, being there is not a right, it's a privilege. It's
said
not just
there-
getting the
he
I'm going
first
to add
said
in
there-
here, though, that this has been called the Gulf of Mexico for 400 years,
Right.
and every other nation calls it the Gulf of Mexico. So just
they're-
because Trump
they're
claims that
operating
we
out of
need
the
to...
United States.
Okay, but doesn't this feel like a really weird, like, wokeism thing on the right? Like, it feels like the right's version of, like, Latinx or, like, birthing person. It just
Well,
feels like a
we
really
had to
weird
comply
hill
with
to
that.
die on.
Nobody,
that we're gonna,
by the way, just to be
we're
clear,
gonna force
nobody had
outlets to cover it.
comply with any of that.
Yeah, if the
I don't think I've ever
Biden, if
said
the
the words
Biden
birthing person.
administration did that,
And if they
Till now.
did,
people
I
would be
think
up in arms.
your heads would be exploding at this table.
Maybe
If
they
I
should,
think it's
someone
someone
said to
they
you,
should
you've got to
call it
refer to people as
they should
birthing
adopt
people.
the Prince method. Just have a little symbol called the Gulf, formerly known as the Gulf of Mexico, which should now be called whatever the hell.
They should
But
say
there's a much
formerly
broader-
Gulf
The
of
Gulf
Mexico.
of whatever the hell he wants.
But there's a much
petty.
broader
It's petty.
danger.
I just-
Today it's the Gulf of Mexico or the
Right.
Gulf of America. Tomorrow, what is it? The president says there's only two genders in this world. We all know transgender people. What happens when the AP reports on transgender Americans? What happens when CNN or ABC or the New York Times?
Okay,
Are
on the
those the
contrary,
next
what if
outlets to
I
be
believe
punished?
that there's two genders, and then Biden tells me that there's 73? What, I don't comply with that.
Yeah, but
the Biden
But again,
administration
it's-
isn't barring Fox News from covering press
Right,
conferences.
he's not going to ban you from
And Trump
coming
hasn't
into the
done
White
that
House
yet.
because
This
you
is
have a
what I mean
different
about
belief.
the
Well,
Why
for the last 2 days, though, the AP has been blocked from attending events that
They
it's
will not
intended for
comply with the
decades.
executive
No,
order.
I really
you
would
want the
rather you
president to do that?
not refer to me
To ban
as
AP?
hysterical for expressing an opinion. I think that's incredibly disrespectful. I don't do it to you.
Why do you think the AP won't just call it the Gulf of America? I mean,
That's
the
petty to
president, the
me.
president
Well,
does
let me
rename
just-
things. We rename what's the mountain, Denali, Mount McKinley.
Let me
I mean,
let me
things get
let me
renamed
read
from time to
let me
time.
read their explanation for why they are not doing it. Essentially, they are saying that Mexico. The Trump's order only carries authority within the United States. Mexico, as well as other countries and international bodies, do not have to recognize that name change. The Gulf of Mexico has carried that name for 400 years. As was said at the table, and the Associated Press is going to refer to it by its original name, while acknowledging that Trump has a new name that he would like to call it. They are an international organization. No one except Trump with a pen has said that it's the Gulf of America. It's a body of water that also has borders with another country, and it's been named that for 400 years.
I know, but we have a lawful process in this country for changing the name of it. The president went through it with the Secretary of the Interior, by the way. I mean, it
And
feels
it's
a
also
little
different. Can I
feels
just answer your Denali question? The Denali thing is actually different because that's a place that's in the United States proper. It exists in
But we changed
in
the name
this
of it. The
country.
point is we changed the name
we
of it.
have the ability
It
to
does
change
happen.
the name. It's
And
Mount
so-
McKinley. It's Mount McKinley.
But we also have the ability to change this body of water. I think, look, this smacks to me of a news organization looking for a way to pick a fight with Donald Trump over something that they don't need to pick a fight over.
Exactly.
A. B.
It's petty.
B. He is the president,
wait,
and there
wait,
is a
wait.
lawful process that he did follow to do it.
The news
and so
organization
why
did
won't they
not
just
pick a fight
respect
with
that?
Donald Trump over this. Donald Trump picked a fight with
No,
the news
no,
organization.
they're not calling
over
it by the name.
No,
That's the
the
fight.
news organization can do whatever they want. If they want to call it the Gulf of South America, they can call it
But
that.
why would I
Donald
respect a
Trump
news
doesn't-
organization that
Yeah,
doesn't deal in reality?
but
You don't
It's
have
false
to.
But Scott,
information. if to not
Scott,
call it what it is.
they can call it whatever they want because there's free speech in this country. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, but that, in my opinion, if you're not willing to call something by the proper name based on the laws of the United States, that calls into question your judgment. And are you a news organization,
by the way,
or are you
there
just?
are no laws in play here. It's an executive order, and the body of water is not named by the United States. It's named
Sure it
by
is.
global organizations that name global landmarks.
Would it
That's
be-
not.
I mean,
It's not. There's no
So
law.
you don't respect Donald Trump's executive order or the Secretary of the Interior's process on this either. then?
Donald Trump had an executive order, but the Associated Press is not bound by it.
Scott,
That's
what
the
if
bottom line.
the
Well,
Biden
that's their
administration
choice.
did
I like
this
the-
though similarly? What if the Biden administration was barring, say, a Fox News because they weren't going along with an executive order where Biden said you must refer to every single transgender person as they,
Listen,
them, or whatever
I
it was?
think I think if you
would
want to
you
engage in a-
would you be supportive of that then?
Yeah,
I think
no,
that
no.
it gets really dangerous when we start forcing terminology on people. I didn't like it when the left did it with things like Latinx, birthing person,
Okay,
you name
these
it.
things are
But-
not in any way,
but
shape, or form
no,
related.
they're
B,
remotely
the Biden
similar.
administration treated the press as poorly as any president has ever treated them, gave them less access, answered no questions, no transparency at any given time. Donald Trump's answered more questions in 3 weeks than Joe Biden answered in 4 years. Elon Musk answered
That's not
more
true,
than
and also a lot of the answers
Come
are
on, Brian.
true and not
This
true.
It's also-
administration
hang
is
on.
giving the most
It
access
is
to the press
also-
they could possibly
just
want.
to be clear, it's also changing the subject, and we're not changing the
But
subject.
you're asking about transparency.
No, we
Can
are,
the news be covered?
Actually,
And
we're
yes,
talking
it's being
about
covered.
the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Is he being
The
covered?
AP will win in
That's what we're
court. Look,
talking
the
about.
AP is going to win in court. If they go to court, the AP will win, just as CNN won in 2018 when a press credential was revoked. We're going to see the courts speak out on behalf of the First Amendment here.
I'm with Scott here that if he changes the name to the Gulf of America, whether they like it or not, them not calling it that, they are based out of the U.S. I get that they're an international organization. It's simply they're not reporting on the truth. So now if you're the president, you can
The truth-
argue they're not
But
reporting
Emily,
the truth.
wouldn't
so
you
why are they
agree that
qualified
the
to be
truth
here?
is also that the rest of the world calls it the Gulf of
So
Mexico?
technically, every other country could
ag-
change the name of
wouldn't
it
you
too in their own country. Then the journalists should comply with whatever their
Okay,
country
but
wants
Emily,
to call
wouldn't
it.
you agree that the truth is also that every other country in the world calls it the Gulf of Mexico?
That's fine, but Donald Trump put an executive order to
which
change
truth
it. So
do you care about? The
I care
one...
about the American truth.
Okay,
So
okay.
the
So let's
American
just be
truth
clear
is that
about it.
Trump
You
changed the
only
name.
care about
So
the
US
version of
journalists-
truth that Donald
this-
Trump
I believe
says is
compliance.
This feels like a really
US
weird hill to die
journalists-
on and something to get quite hysterical over. It feels like it's actually ridiculous.
weird
that
how
this
that-
is a
It's the
very-
opposite of a hill.
Why is
It's a
he
slippery
dying on
slope.
this hill?
Hang on a second, Brian. I
agree. We have bigger
guys,
things to focus
I do
on.
want to
Above
talk
and
about
beyond.
one very important thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of treatment of the media, the FCC is going after media companies.
Yes.
They're going after NPR and PBS. They're going after NBC, Universal, and Comcast over their corporate practices around DEI. What authority do they have to
The
do
FCC has never done this under Republicans or Democrats before. The current FCC chair appointed by Trump wants to be different, wants to do things differently. That's what he's doing. But this all smacks of an attempt to pressure every major media company in the U.S. except for Fox News. In terms of
Which,
license
by the way,
holders,
until
all the others are under pressure
maybe
right
2
now.
or 3 weeks ago, also had DEI practices as part of their
Yes, it did.
corporate governance.
Yes, it did. We
Because
talked
they're
about-
a private corporation.
And it can do what it wants.